The beach, sun, sand, and relaxation. Sounds perfect, right? Well, not for everyone. Some people have managed to find the most ridiculous things to complain about. We've gathered 50 of the most absurd, jaw-dropping complaints ever filed at beaches around the world. From people angry at waves for being too wavy to tourists demanding the ocean smell like lavender. These stories will have you questioning everything. Quick question before we dive in. What's the pettiest complaint you've ever heard someone make on vacation? Drop it in the comments and let's see who wins. 1. A retired accountant named Harold visited a famous California beach with his measuring tape. Yes, a measuring tape. After spending 2 hours taking measurements, he marched to the lifeguard station and filed an official complaint. His issue? The beach was exactly 47 feet shorter than what was advertised on the tourism website. He demanded either a partial refund on his parking fee or for the city to add more sand to meet the promised length. The lifeguard just stared at him in disbelief. 2. A woman named Patricia from Ohio experienced her first ocean swim and immediately regretted it. Her complaint wasn't about jellyfish or strong currents. She was furious that the salt water made her expensive hair extensions feel crunchy. She stormed into her hotel demanding that the resort install freshwater swimming lanes in the ocean for guests with delicate hair care needs. When the manager explained that was impossible, she asked for the corporate number to file a formal grievance. 3. Picture this: a man named Douglas sitting on a beach towel with a stopwatch. He was timing the waves. After careful observation, he complained to the beach patrol that the waves were arriving at inconsistent intervals. He expected them to crash every 8 to 10 seconds like clockwork, but some came at 6 seconds and others at 15. He described this as false advertising and poor quality control on nature's part. He genuinely asked if the city had a wave regulation department he could speak with. 4. For a fitness influencer named Brittany, the beach was supposed to be the perfect backdrop for her workout videos, but she was outraged when she discovered that running on sand was harder than running on a treadmill. She filed a complaint with the parks department, arguing that the sand was excessively soft and should be compacted to provide a firmer running surface. She even suggested they install a paved jogging path right along the water line for content creators like herself. 5. A father named Mitchell brought his family to a tropical resort expecting paradise. What he didn't expect was birds. Specifically, he complained that there were too many seagulls and pelicans flying overhead, and he was terrified one might relieve itself on his family. He requested that the resort invest in some form of aerial bird deterrent system, perhaps trained falcons or invisible laser barriers, to ensure a poop-free beach experience. Have you ever seen someone complain about something completely beyond human control? Wait until you hear the next few. 6. An elderly woman named Gladys visited a beach in Florida and was horrified by what she saw. Belly buttons. Too many exposed belly buttons. She wrote a 3-page letter to the city council, complaining about the indecent amount of midriff exposure on the public beach. She demanded that signs be posted requiring all beachgoers to wear one-piece swimsuits or at minimum cover their navels with appropriate fabric. 7. A tech entrepreneur named Kevin was trying to have a productive beach day. He set up his laptop under an umbrella and attempted to work. His complaint: the ocean's glare on his screen was making it impossible to see his spreadsheets. He suggested the beach install anti-glare screens or tinted dome structures over the seating areas, so remote workers could enjoy the beach while maintaining productivity. 8. For a couple named Steve and Martha, their anniversary beach trip was ruined by coconuts. Not falling coconuts, just the presence of them. Martha complained that the coconuts hanging in the palm trees looked threatening and created constant anxiety. She requested that the resort harvest all coconuts above head height or provide guests with complimentary hard hats for peace of mind. 9. A woman named Veronica was on a mission to collect exactly 100 perfect seashells for her craft project. After 3 hours, she had only found 23 that met her standards. She complained to the visitor center that the beach was clearly overpicked and demanded they implement a shell collection limit for other visitors. She also suggested the park should consider restocking the beach with premium shells monthly. 10. One man named George was absolutely baffled by the tide. tides. He arrived at 10 a.m. when the beach was wide and spacious. By 2 p.m., the water had crept much closer to his towel. He complained to the lifeguard that someone was clearly adding water to the ocean throughout the day, and demanded to know who was responsible for this inconvenience. When the lifeguard explained tides, George insisted that was a cover-up story. 11. A mother named Karen, yes really, was outraged that the beach did not have a complaint department. She wanted to file a complaint about the lack of a formal complaint filing system. She argued that a beach this popular should have a dedicated customer service, desk with numbered tickets, and a manager on duty at all times to address visitor concerns in real time. Imagine being so committed to complaining that you complain about not being able to complain properly. What would you even say to someone like that? 12. A tourist named Bradley from London visited an Australian beach and was shocked by the heat of the sand. He wasn't just uncomfortable, he was convinced this was a safety violation. He demanded that warning signs be posted every 10 feet alerting visitors that sand temperature may exceed comfortable levels. He also suggested the beach provide complimentary sandwalking sandals at all entry points. 13. For a woman named Deborah, the beach soundtrack was all wrong. She complained that the waves were too loud and were drowning out her relaxation playlist. She asked the resort if they could install speakers playing soft jazz along the shoreline to create a more refined acoustic environment. When told that wasn't possible, she requested a partial refund for the auditory disappointment. 14. A man named Franklin was deeply disturbed by the behavior of other beachgoers. Specifically, he complained that people were having too much fun. The laughing, the splashing, the general merriment was disrupting his attempt to have a peaceful, solitary experience. He demanded that the beach implement quiet hours from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. where excessive happiness would be discouraged. 15. One couple named Jessica and Tyler complained that the ocean was not Instagram-worthy enough. They had traveled 6 hours to get the perfect photo, but the water wasn't the exact shade of turquoise they had seen on social media. They blamed the beach's marketing team for photo manipulation and demanded either a refund or for someone to Photoshop their vacation photos to match their expectations. 16. A retired teacher named Eleanor was appalled by the educational quality of the beach. She complained that there were no informational plaques explaining the types of sand, the species of fish, or the history of the coastline. She argued that beaches should be learning environments and suggested the city install a self-guided audio tour system with QR codes every 20 feet. 17. For a man named Roger, the biggest problem with the beach was the other people, not their behavior, just their existence. He complained that the beach was false advertising itself as relaxing, when clearly it was crowded with strangers. He demanded the resort implement a reservation system limiting the beach to no more than 15 people at a time for a truly exclusive experience. 18. A woman named Pamela was horrified when a small wave splashed her unexpectedly. She filed a complaint stating that she was assaulted by the ocean and demanded that warning buoys be placed indicating the splash zone. She argued that unsuspecting visitors should not be subjected to surprise wetness without proper signage. At what point does a beach stop being a beach and start being a padded room with controlled climate? 19. A businessman named Victor tried to make an important phone call from his beach chair. He was furious when the person on the other end couldn't hear him over the sound of the waves. He complained to the resort that they should provide soundproof phone booths on the beach for professionals who need to conduct business while on vacation. 20. One woman named Francesca complained that the palm trees were casting shadows in the wrong direction. She had strategically positioned her towel for optimal sun exposure, but by early afternoon, a palm tree shadow had crept over her legs. She demanded that the trees be relocated or trimmed to prevent unauthorized shade distribution. 21. A family from Wisconsin was devastated when their sandcastle was destroyed by a wave. The father, named Dennis, filed a formal complaint arguing that the beach should have designated sandcastle safe zones where waves are not permitted to reach. He suggested the city build artificial barriers to protect the creative works of children. and adults alike. 20-2 for a yoga instructor named Harmony. The beach was supposed to be her spiritual sanctuary, but she complained that the sand was not level enough for proper yoga practice. She requested that the beach maintenance team rake and flatten a designated yoga zone every morning to ensure proper alignment during her downward dog poses. A man named Albert was outraged by the temperature of the ocean. Not that it was too cold or too hot, but that it was different from the temperature listed on a weather app. He had checked the forecast that morning and expected 78-degree water, but he estimated it was closer to 74. He demanded a refund for the 4 degrees he felt were missing from his swimming experience. 20-4 one tourist named Wanda complained that the beach was too natural. She was used to resort pools with filtered water, concrete edges, and pool boys bringing drinks. The beach offered none of these civilized amenities. She suggested the city install floating pool noodle dispensers and drink service stations every 50 yards along the shoreline. 25 a photographer named Marcus was furious that other beachgoers kept walking through his shots. He complained to the lifeguard that people were ruining his artistic vision and demanded that photographers be given priority access to certain scenic areas with the right to ask civilians to relocate. We're halfway through, and honestly, these complaints keep getting more unbelievable. Have you ever witnessed someone this entitled in real life? Let us know in the comments. 20-6 a woman named Beatrice complained that the sunset lasted too long. She had planned to leave at 7 p.m., but the sun was still setting at 7:15, which meant she felt obligated to stay and watch. She blamed the resort for not providing accurate sunset duration estimates and demanded compensation for the unexpected 15 minutes of her time. 20-7 for a man named Leonard. The biggest beach problem was the lack of entertainment. He complained that staring at the ocean was boring after approximately 12 minutes. He suggested the beach install large outdoor screens playing movies or at minimum provide complimentary beach games and activities for visitors who didn't bring their own fun. 20-8 a tourist named Sheila was disgusted by the texture of wet sand. She described it as slimy and unpleasant and complained that the beach should offer dry sand paths leading directly to the water. She also suggested the resort provide waterproof sand-free shoes for guests who didn't want to experience natural beach conditions. 20-9 one man named Oliver was deeply concerned about beach etiquette. He complained that there was no official seating chart for the beach, which led to chaos. He proposed the city implement a numbered towel placement system, similar to assigned seating at a concert, so everyone would know exactly where they belonged. 30 a woman named Gloria complained that her beach umbrella rental was not color coordinated with her swimsuit. She had specifically worn a coral bikini, but the umbrella she received was navy blue. She demanded an exchange and suggested the rental company offer a wider color palette to match various fashion choices. 31 for a fitness enthusiast named Derek. The beach was too flat. He had expected more challenging terrain for his workout and complained that the lack of hills or inclines made his beach jog feel pointless. He suggested the city build artificial sand dunes at regular intervals to provide a more dynamic exercise experience. 30-2 a woman named Ingrid was horrified by the state of the public restrooms. Not the cleanliness, which was fine, but the distance from her towel. She complained that she had to walk nearly for minutes to reach the facilities, which she considered unreasonable. She demanded the beach install more restrooms or provide golf cart transportation for guests with urgent needs. 30-3 one couple named Brandon and Ashley complained that the beach was too romantic. They were going through a difficult time in their relationship and found the sunset, the waves, and the couples around them triggering. They suggested the beach create a single section or a designated no romance zone for guests who didn't want to witness public displays of affection. 30-4 a man named Terrence was outraged that the lifeguard whistled at him for swimming too far out. He argued that as a grown adult, he had the right to make his own decisions about ocean safety. He filed a complaint stating that the lifeguard was overstepping boundaries and should only intervene when explicitly asked for help. Do you think some people just go on vacation looking for things to complain about? Because these next stories suggest exactly that. 30-5 a woman named Rhonda complained that the beach offered no valet parking. She had to carry her cooler, umbrella, chairs, and bags nearly 200 yards from the parking lot to the sand. She demanded the beach hire staff to transport guests' belongings or at minimum provide complimentary wagons at the entrance. 30-6. For a man named Clifford, the ocean was simply too salty. He took a mouthful of water accidentally and was appalled by the taste. He complained to the visitor center that warning signs should be posted, indicating the sodium content of the water. He also suggested the city explore desalination options to make the ocean more palatable. 37. A tourist named Wendy complained that the beach did not offer loyalty rewards. She had been visiting the same beach for 5 years and felt she deserved recognition. She proposed a frequent beachgoer program with benefits like reserved parking, priority towel placement, and discounted umbrella rentals. 30-8. One man named Horace was disturbed by the number of children on the beach. He argued that their screaming and running created a chaotic environment, unsuitable for mature travelers. He demanded the beach implement age-restricted hours or designate adults only, zones where peace and sophistication could be preserved. 30-9. A woman named Margot complained that the beach had no dress code. She was offended by what she considered inappropriate swimwear choices by other guests. She suggested the beach post guidelines on acceptable attire and employ fashion monitors to ensure compliance with basic aesthetic standards. 40. For a man named Sebastian, the beach experience was ruined by the smell of sunscreen. He found the coconut and chemical scents offensive and complained that the beach should require guests to use only unscented sun protection. He also suggested the resort provide complimentary fragrance-free options at the entrance. 40-1. A woman named Christine complained that her beach chair sank into the sand. She expected the chair to remain perfectly stable, as it would on a solid floor. She demanded the beach provide hard plastic platforms for chairs to rest on, preventing any unwanted sinking or tilting. 40-2. One tourist named Ralph was appalled that the beach did not serve food. He had expected full restaurant service on the sand and was disappointed to learn he had to walk to a nearby cafe. He suggested the beach hire servers to take orders and deliver meals directly to guests' towels, like room service but for outdoors. 40-3. A woman named Delilah complained that the ocean waves were splashing in the wrong direction. She had positioned herself to avoid getting wet, but a wave came from an unexpected angle. She argued this was unpredictable and dangerous, and demanded the beach install wave direction indicators so guests could prepare accordingly. 44. For a man named Eugene, the biggest problem was the beach's closing time. He was asked to leave at sunset for safety reasons and was outraged. He argued that adults should be allowed to enjoy the beach 24 hours a day and compared the restriction to a violation of his personal freedom. 40-5. A woman named Opal complained that the sand was the wrong color. She had seen photos of pink and black sand beaches online and was disappointed that this beach only offered boring beige. She suggested the city import exotic colored sand to create a more visually interesting experience. We're almost at the end, and somehow these complaints keep getting more creative. Stick around because the final few are absolutely unbelievable. 46. A man named Gerard complained that the beach had too much wildlife. Not dangerous animals, just crabs, small fish, and birds. He argued that a proper beach should be sterilized and free of creatures that might startle visitors. He suggested the city implement regular wildlife removal operations to maintain a creature-free environment. 40-7. One woman named Iris was upset that the ocean didn't match her expectations from travel magazines. She had anticipated crystal clear water where she could see the bottom, but the reality was murky and greenish. She complained to her hotel that they should warn guests about the actual appearance of nature before booking. 40-8. A tourist named Maurice complained that the beach was too democratic. He had paid for an expensive resort and expected an exclusive beach experience. Instead, he found himself sharing sand with day visitors and locals. He demanded the resort create a VIP beach section with velvet ropes 49. And a bouncer to maintain. A woman named Priscilla complained that her beach umbrella was not the optimal angle for her skin type. She had very specific sun exposure requirements and expected the rental staff to adjust the umbrella precisely to her specifications. When they couldn't achieve the exact 37-degree angle she wanted, she demanded a refund and left a scathing review. 50. And finally, The crown jewel of beach complaints. A man named Theodore sat watching the ocean for exactly 1 hour before approaching the beach manager. His complaint: the ocean was repetitive. Wave after wave, the same motion, the same sound, the same result. He felt cheated by the lack of variety and suggested the beach install a wave machine that could produce different patterns, shapes, and sizes throughout the day to keep things interesting. He compared the natural ocean to a screensaver from the 1990s and demanded innovation.